Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. Today's topic, Field Notes from India's Safari Season, presented by NatHab Expedition Leader Aditya Panda. I'm your host, Rob Mess. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Aditya, take it away, sir.
Thank you, Rob, and hello, everyone. It's been a very long time since I last presented a webinar. I don't remember when I think it was in March that I did. It was not so long ago, but yeah, it's been a busy safari season, and I've been leading trips almost back to back. So I haven't been able to present on Daily Dose of Nature as frequently as I used to, and as I will now that off season has started. So, before we dive into today's topic, I want to introduce myself again for those of you who haven't watched one of my webinars in the past, and for those of you who haven't traveled with me. My name is Aditya Panda, and I have been leading NatHab expeditions since 2016. I lead our tiger expeditions, which include the Grand India Wildlife Adventure, India Tiger Quest, and the India Tiger Photo Expedition. Um, when I'm not leading NatHab expeditions, I base myself in eastern central India in my home state of Odisha, where I involve myself in conservation work. I work in conserving tiger and elephant landscapes in this part of India. So, the safari season of 2024 to 25 has just ended for me. I just finished my last trip of the season 2 days ago. And I believe that as we speak right now, the very last trip of the season is being operated. And after that, it shall be end of season for the next 4 or 5 months as India gets covered in the monsoons. It's the end of the hot season now, it's the end of summer, and the monsoon rains have already started arriving in many parts of southern and coastal India. And very soon, the whole of the subcontinent is going to be absolutely covered with rainfall, much needed rainfall after a long, dry, hot season. Important for wildlife, important for agriculture, important for everything. And, this gives me time now to not only have the leisure to look at all the amazing pictures and videos that one tends to gather in these busy safari seasons, but also to reflect upon some of the highlights of our safari season and share them with you. So this here is a picture of a tigress called Arrowhead from Ranthambore Tiger Reserve from our India Tiger Quest expedition. And you can see how beautiful the frame is, very typical Ranthambore tigress sitting out in an open grassland, water in a massive artificial lake behind her, and um, an ancient hunting palace that once belonged to the Maharaja of Jaipur, whose private hunting reserve this park used to be. So this picture was taken, I think, last month on one of my India Tiger Quest trips, and it's been a busy season indeed. I started my season in December, um, started with the first of my 5 Grand India Wildlife Adventures that I led this season, and ended it on the 28th of May after leading my third India Tiger Quest expedition. And of course, with a total of almost, what would it be, almost 110, 111 days on safari, we are bound to have tremendous amounts of wildlife sightings. And indeed, we did. We had some phenomenal wildlife sightings this season. In fact, it's been a very good season overall, right through the winter until now. Almost on all our trips, we've had bumper sightings, unexpected sightings, rare sightings, amazing behavior, fabulous, fabulous season. And when I decided to present on this topic today, um, I was aware that it would be very, very difficult to fit in all the amazing sightings and all the fantastic behavior that we have seen through the season. And 1 hour is a very short period of time, and I've tried to fit in as much as I could, but I can tell you right away that I could not fit in very much because we have had tens of amazing sightings and some really, really amazing wildlife behavior on our trips this season. And I have tried to include, four species, the four carnivores: um, tiger, leopard, sloth bear, and Asian or Indian wild dog. And I've tried to recollect four incidents, four extremely good sightings from each of these, a good sighting from each of these species. And these four fantastic sightings are what I'm going to talk about on today's webinar. And maybe I'll need to do more webinars on all the other amazing sightings that we have had with so many other species, and also a lot more on tigers and leopards that I'll probably be fitting into later webinars. So let's start. Um, my first um, my first memorable sighting from this season, one of the most exciting sightings that we had this season, happened in March in Kanha Tiger Reserve in central India on the Grand India Wildlife Adventure. Now, one morning, um, uh, in the Kanha National Park, we have four zones that we visit, and there are four zones that one can visit, of which we visit two. And there's one called the Mukhi zone, the other called the Kanha zone. The Mukhi zone is our near zone from where we camp, and we do the majority of our game drives in the Mukhi zone. But one morning on every trip, we head to the Kanha zone of the park, which is literally the heart of the park. It's the center of the park, and any visit to Kanha is incomplete if you haven't visited the Kanha zone. Now, the thing about the Kanha zone is that to head there, you have to drive through the Mukhi zone for about an hour and then cross a ridge of mountains and then sort of descend into this crater of sorts, which the Kanha zone is. And this morning in March, that's exactly what we were doing. We were driving, passing through Mukhi zone, trying not to stop unnecessarily because we wanted to maximize our time inside the Kanha zone. And nothing much of interest happened through the Mukhi zone as we drove through. And there is a bridge, a small bridge that one crosses before entering the Kanha zone. And on that bridge, we found a rather, uh, a rather cooperative cormorant of all things, perched on the bridge parapet. And we all got distracted by how close the bird was and started taking super duper close up pictures. And we didn't realize that, while we were busy with that, we were getting a little late, and that we needed to spend some time scouting the meadows inside the Kanha zone for tigers. And we still had a bit of a hill to climb before we could do that. Now, as we climbed this hill, that particular stretch of that hill, which is known as Nakti Ghati, for those of you who are familiar with Kanha or who have been there before, on that stretch of the bridge, that stretch of the hill, you frequently come across fresh tiger tracks but rarely does anyone ever see tigers there, because the tigers in that particular area tend to be shy, and they are only rarely, if ever, seen, and they're only seen by maybe one or two jeeps that might be passing by at most. These are not tigers that are used to or comfortable with a lot of jeeps, unlike tigers in many other parts of the parks. And that has almost always been the case with Nakti Ghati for whatever reason. Now, we were the only jeep on the Nakti Ghati at that point of time. And as we were driving up this hill, we heard a sambar deer give alarm calls from behind us. And, usually when you hear alarm calls on Nakti Ghati, um, it doesn't make very much sense to act upon them, because, as I said, the tigers there typically are very shy tigers, and very often we hear alarm calls because there is a lot of tiger presence there, but it usually does not amount to a sighting. But just to take our chances, we drove back. You know, my guest, but by that point had seen a lot of tigers on the trip, and a lot of the time we had the company of other jeeps at those sightings, and here was a chance for us to probably, it was a slim chance, but there was a chance for us to probably have a solo tiger sighting, tiger sighting just by ourselves with no one else around, a tiger to ourselves, potentially. The downside was that this might amount to absolutely nothing. And in trying that, we might actually lose a sighting inside a Kana zone that the other jeeps might see. And I explained this fact to my guests, and they were absolute sports, and they were all, totally game for it. They said, "Let's take this chance. Let's see, if it works out, it'll be great. If it doesn't, we've seen plenty of tigers. There's nothing to miss." So we turn around and we drive back, and we park the jeep and are listening to the alarm calls, which by now had been carried over by monkeys, and we were listening to monkey alarm calls when a spotter sitting in the back of the jeep suddenly looked behind her and said, "Tiger, tiger, tiger." And as we turned around and looked, this is what we saw. Um, Excuse the choppiness of the video. I have included a lot of videos, or a few videos, in today's webinar, and I have worked on them in a hurry. These are very large files. These videos practically need a cinema editing setup to really work on them, but I've done some quick edits and tried to include them in today's webinar so that you could enjoy them. But they do seem to take up a lot of bandwidth, and the playback is a little choppy. But you saw what happened in it. We saw this one old tiger, a very old tiger, and a familiar one at that, called M1. M1 was approaching us from behind, and as you saw in the video, he seemed to be walking with purpose and in a hurry. And M1 is a tiger that I hadn't seen in a very long time, so I was quite excited, quite happy, and you could hear both my and my guests' cameras absolutely firing away. And we watched M1 walk down the road with purpose, and he was, he seemed a little agitated. He wasn't just paddling down the road like tigers often do at their own pace, at ease with themselves and the world and just being kings of the jungle. He seemed anxious to me. And, he was, on the one hand, walking anxiously, and on the other hand, he was marking every bush and tree that he could. And we watched, rather curious and, of course, very excited on seeing this massive male tiger who obviously had, put on a lot of age. He must be, I don't know, 12 or 13 at this point of time. And you can see he's also got a lot of gray, a lot of white on him, which is a clear indicator of his age, as are the tips of his ears. See how they're torn now. So M1 was there, being every bit the big male tiger that he was, but marking his territory, but also at the same time appearing anxious. And we kept wondering why. He kept coming close to the jeep, and we kept moving forward, making way for him so that we could have a good view of him head on, yet provide plenty of space for him to continue his walk. We did not want him to overtake us and go ahead of us, and that would mean that we should only get hind shots. And yeah, he M1 is a fairly bold tiger. He's quite used to jeeps, and so I was not surprised on seeing him coming close to the jeep. But most other tigers that occupy that area, the Naktighati area, tend to be very shy, typically young or sort of sub-adult tigers that have just left their mothers and are therefore very shy. But this was M1, and we were enjoying a fantastic sighting until the, the spotter looked behind and said, "Another tiger." And we look behind and we see this, uh, you know, comparatively smaller tiger following behind and looking fairly menacingly at M1. Now, initially, as soon as we saw him, we thought it was, two tigers. One of them is a big male. The other tiger is smaller. So our first and hasty conclusion was that it was probably a male and a female. But why then was the male walking away, almost running away from what was supposed to be the female? And then we realized that this was no female. This was a young male tiger just entering his prime. And he was one of those very shy tigers that occupy this area and are almost never seen except in trail cameras and except in tracks. And the fact that we could not identify him at first glance was also proof that this was a tiger that was not frequently seen. And we were wondering who this tiger was and what he's up to when this happened. M1, look at him, look at his posture. Watch that. He's got his hackles raised. He's trying to make himself appear as big as he can. Um, but we see the younger male absolutely not, allowing himself to get intimidated by all of that from the more experienced male. In fact, this young male is in the mood to conquer territory. He is looking to form his own kingdom, and therefore the old king must go. Uh, Tiger geopolitics is, very, very, very interesting. And here we had a live sort of play going right in front of us. And at this point of time, we are wondering what is going to happen next. Is there going to be a fight? Is this young male tiger going to come? And, are we going to have a fantastic sighting of two tigers fighting all by ourselves in this jeep? And look at their posture. That's the only thing you would expect. Look at M1. He is absolutely standing tall, hackles raised, ears flattened, and um, uh, looking at the challenger, through the corner of his eyes. And the challenger, despite being smaller, less experienced, is not showing any signs of getting intimidated by all of this. And he kept approaching, and M1 tried not to fight. He was, trying not to confront, but at the same time, his posture, his body language showed that he was not going to be messed with. And he did remember to mark, important trees and bushes in the meantime. And when he slowed down to do that, the challenger also slowed down in the back. When M1 walked, he walked. When M1 slowed down, he slowed down. When M1 picked up speed, the challenger also picked up speed. And, you know, this went on for quite a while. And, you know, there was absolutely no growling, no roaring, nothing, absolute silence. Had we not been there, had we been 200 meters away and around a bend, we would have had absolutely no idea of what was going on. And, this was one of my favorite pictures. Um, Look at, I just wanted to do a black and white of this picture with M1 in the foreground and the challenger appearing like a ghost, in the bouquet in the back. And, M1, as he got closer to our Jeep, slowed down, and, we made way. And then the two tigers actually started walking parallel to each other. And look at the difference in their size. M1, proper, mature, big male tiger. Yes, he's aged and his muscles might have atrophied, but he's still a lot bigger than this young male. And one has to give it to this young male. He's so small, he looks almost like a tigress. And he's also young and inexperienced. And yet he's taking on a tiger 1.5 times his size and maybe 10 times his experience. And, the big male tiger is yielding. It was quite an interesting piece of behavior for us to watch. And both the tigers have, they're communicating almost entirely through body language. And there's no growling, no fighting, nothing yet. And then M1, who is far more comfortable with jeeps, comes close to us, almost like he was using the cover of the jeep to shake off this young male tiger. And, he left that area and crossed a dry stream bed and just left. Now, animals, especially tigers and other territorial animals, they understand and regard physical boundaries as very clear boundaries often. So for a tiger, a particular road or a particular stream or a particular valley could mean the end of a territory. And M1, while on the one hand he was trying to save his dignity and his ego and not look like a loser, was in fact losing territory and falling back and yielding to this new male. He tried his very best to do whatever he could to save whatever little he could in terms of, not appearing submissive, in marking his territory, and in keeping a, brave posture. But the fact of the matter was, he was yielding territory. He was running away without looking like he was running away. And this young male tiger was chasing him away without actually firing a single bullet, without any actual fight. Now, you might ask me, why did these tigers not fight? And why did all of this happen so easily, apparently easily? And the answer to that is that big cats and carnivores in general, but big cats in particular, are very, very, very aware of the fact that their survival depends on their physical fitness. One tends to think of big cats as ferocious beasts that are never hesitant to fight, but that is far from reality. Big cats try to save their skin as much as possible. You see, they are predators, they're hunters. Um, their ability to procure food is dependent entirely upon their physical fitness. Any injury, especially for a solitary big cat like a tiger, any injury could mean that he's hindered and hampered in his ability to hunt. And if he can't hunt, he will starve. And for an old male tiger who is already losing his prime, he's losing his territory, he's losing his kingdom, you know, an injury, especially a fatal injury, is the last thing he wants. Um, the young male tiger would probably have been more than willing to fight because he's young, he's inexperienced, and he's got all that testosterone and adrenaline coursing through him. But the wisdom of the old M1 uh, showed here, and M1 just tried to make a statement, but he did not enter into an actual physical fight because he knows that if he, uh, fights, he is physically old, he's physically weak, he might lose anyway. And even if he doesn't lose, even if he manages with his confidence and his experience to temporarily chase away this young male tiger, he was fully aware of the fact that that male is going to come back and that his that M1's territory was now for the taking, not only for this new young male but many other males. And M1 knew for a fact that if he survived this without an injury, then he will live longer, probably come back later to claim bits of his territory when the invader, the conqueror, wasn't around. But his first priority right now was to survive, and that is what he did. So the reason I'm citing this story and citing this example is to say that tigers and their territorial dynamics, and tigers and their geopolitical acumen are extremely, extremely interesting subjects. And I've had the opportunity to observe this over the years, with the many tigers that I'm privileged to share my life with. And, it never ever ceases to surprise me how tigers manage their geopolitics. In fact, tiger geopolitics is a topic probably that I could do an entire webinar on one day. So M1 walked right past our Jeep and away, using the presence of our Jeep as an opportunity to build distance between himself and the shy young tiger, because he knew the shy new tiger would not come close to our Jeep. And the shy tiger, from a distance, watched M1 walk away, watched our Jeep, and then he went his way. In fact, the joke in Kanha circles that afternoon was that this shy young tiger was probably, it took another male tiger for the shy young tiger to come out and actually be seen by a jeep that day, because 99% of the time no one sees him, everyone only sees his tracks. Now, that tiger story was, incredibly exciting. That sighting was incredibly adrenaline pumping. But, there was another sighting that I had, I think, a week or 10 days ago, which, in fact, I had it on the 19th. Yes, exactly about 11 days ago. And that sighting was almost, I wouldn't say as much, but almost as exciting as that tiger sighting. And this was to do with a leopardess to be particular, at Ranthambore Tiger Reserve on our India Tiger Quest trip. And, I don't know how many of you know this, but the plural like the plural of for lion is the pride of lions, or the collective for lions is the pride of lions, and for tigers it is a streak of tigers. For leopards, it's actually a leap of leopards, and this leopardess did leap for us that morning. Uh, Again, we were alone in the park early in the morning, driving towards a location where we thought we might come across the tracks of an old tigress that we were tracking in Ranthambore. When to our left hand side and just in the brush off the road, we noticed the hind quarters of a leopard vanishing into the brush. And our guide started saying leopard, 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 and we immediately uh, raced ahead and to try and glimpse, because leopards typically are they're very shy. They don't stop for jeeps. They, especially in areas where there is a dense tiger population, leopards are very, very shy, and they don't offer good sightings. But as we pulled over exactly where the leopardess had vanished, we saw that she was not running away. She stopped with her back to us, turned and looked to the right like that, and looked intently for a second, and then quickly climbed up this tree. She climbed up the tree, and settled down in a fork, and she uh, she settled down in the fork and paused for a while, and then she looked again in the direction she had looked, and we thought that she might actually have spotted prey, and gradually things were beginning to fall in place in our minds. Um, we knew that since she was settled in on the fork of this tree, she was unlikely to leave it and go away anywhere. So we decided to drive down and go check out in the direction she had been looking. And we had hardly driven a couple of 100 yards when we came across a herd of spotted deer that we had missed from our jeep on the road. But the leopardess, through the brush, she had seen them, she had heard them, and from the tree, when she climbed on the tree, she knew exactly where they were. And we began to think that, when we saw the deer, they were gradually and slowly grazing in the direction of the leopardess. So we began to put two and two together and decided that this leopardess is probably setting up an ambush, because the deer were beginning to graze towards her. A trail likely passed exactly under the tree on which she was, and she was just waiting and biding her time carefully, patiently, for the deer to walk under her tree, and she would probably use that as an opportunity to ambush and secure a kill. Now, all of this, of course, was going on in our heads, and we knew that this was theoretically possible, but it's not that we had seen many leopards hunt. It's not easy to see big cats hunt, especially leopards, because they always keep to thick vegetation. They're ambush hunters. They rarely hunt out in the open. And I had only in my life seen a leopard actually in the act of making a kill only once, and that was back in 2016 or 17. So we were just using common sense to put things together, and we waited. We parked ourselves. I mean, she was lying there on the branch. She was not going anywhere, and we had therefore no reason to go anywhere. And we decided to just sit there, enjoy the company of this leopardess, and put our theory to the test. And then, um, you know, she would sit up periodically like this and look, and sometimes she even posed for us, giving us some fantastic pictures, even though there were a lot of branches and twigs and things in front. And then a little while later, um, the deer did start passing under the tree, and they started coming close to the tree, and we see that a trail actually passed not only under the tree but under the exact branch on which the leopardess was sitting. She knew the lay of the land really, really well. It just goes to show how well big cats know their geography, how well they know every twig, every rock, every trail, every stream, every tree in their territories, and how they utilize all of this to set up successful ambushes. So, the leopardess sat there. The first deer walked under it, nothing. Second deer walks under the leopard, nothing. Third deer walked under it, and we saw the leopardess just change position a little from the fork. She from a lying down position on the fork, she sort of crouched along the trunk, facing down, and then the fourth deer walked under the tree, and this is what happened.
Oh, look, 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 look. Oh, she got it. Oh, the leopard got it.
It was absolutely, priceless. You don't get to witness things like this every day in the jungle, and you do get to watch them on those TV documentaries, but those documentaries take years to film, and to get footage like this, to get sightings like this, is the dream of any wildlife photographer, any wildlife filmmaker, and any safari goer. So after it dropped on that deer and executed a absolutely perfect, beautiful ambush, it finally got earned herself a fantastic kill and dragged it and took it away. And I managed to get this one picture of her actually, uh, you know, uh, pulling her kill away. Now we are running out of time, so I will make the next slides quick. Besides tiger and leopard sightings, we have also had some fantastic sloth bear sightings. Every time before a trip starts, when I'm giving the pre-trip orientation to my guests, I frequently get asked what our chances of seeing a sloth bear would be. And I always say, it's very, very iffy. There is, one can't put a number to it, and that our chances of seeing tigers were far greater than our chances of seeing sloth bear. But we've had some phenomenal luck with sloth bears, especially on our India tiger quest trips. In fact, on the last trip, which I just finished 2 days ago, on 7 game drives, we saw a dozen sloth bears at different occasions. So here are some pictures, and this particular sloth bear, he was very, very bold. He walked down the road like a big male tiger would, and he was a big male sloth bear, to give him credit. But again, we were the only jeep, and he walked down the road just like a tiger. And I actually managed to get some slow mo video of it. If the video is choppy on GoTo and doesn't play smoothly, please bear with me. And you can always find the same video on my Instagram feed if you look up, but I'll try and play it here again. It was some really nice bear footage that I managed to get. It's choppy, but watch. Now, not only did he walk like that towards us, giving us enormous photography and videography opportunities, it was an extremely hot afternoon, and we were all wondering, as we often do with sloth bears, how they survive the Indian summer with that thick, long, black coat. I mean, they've got everything going against them when it comes to any logic about heat. The hair is long, it is thick, and it is black. I mean, everything works against what an animal should evolve to be like in a hot country. But then the bear answered a question. He went and sat in a pool of water, like a very much like a person sitting upright and washing his hands and his paws and splashing water on himself and just cooling off. Just it reminded me of a person in a spa. He could see the sense of relief on him when he got into that water, and how relieved he was to escape that heat. Now, sloth bears do have a long coat, but in the summer they shed their undercoat. They only retain the top coat. The top coat protects the skin from the harsh sunlight. It also protects them from bees and termites, which they're fond of messing with. They raid termite mounds to feed on termites, and they raid beehives to feed on honey and honeycombs. Therefore, they need that hair. And as far as the hair being black is concerned and it absorbing heat is concerned, well, they only have to find a water body to get into and cool off. Um, Besides sloth bears, we also had some fantastic wild dog sightings all through the season in central India, especially at Kanha National Park. Now, some of you might know, and I probably might have talked to you about this on past webinars, but for the past 2 years, we have actually been tracking a pack of Indian wild dog, or dhole as we call them, at Kanha National Park. And this has given us the opportunity to study them, watch them, understand them quite closely. Not only do we see them often on our game drives, like in this picture here, but also on our walking safari in Kanha, we had actually managed to locate their den and a safe spot from which to observe it without disturbing them. So every time we've gone to the den to watch them, we've seen the alpha male sitting guard or standing guard outside, while the rest of the pack, usually stays farther behind. And only when things have settled down and we crouch and sit absolutely quietly, pin drop silence, and only then do we start to see activity around the den. The cubs start to come out, they start to play, and we see phenomenal behavior, which is very rare to see these with these dogs, because not only are these dogs rarely sighted, their numbers are also very, very low. The Asiatic wild dog is, there are far fewer of them than there are tigers in the wild. And here I'm going to play a slow motion video of my rarest wild dog sighting ever. Not only did we see uh, a litter of cubs, pups, whatever you call them, that was a dozen strong. Can you believe it? A dozen strong. But also, for the first time, I saw wild dog puppies nursing, and the behavior that the mother would show in very, very private circumstances, things that people very rarely get to see. Watch. Again, sorry for the choppy video. Look, the mother arrives and the puppies start nursing. and all that, see the puppies thrusting their faces into her belly as they try to nurse, and that is not only encouraging greater milk flow, but it is also causing the mother to feel nauseous. And look what she'll do next. Watch. Keep watching and see what the mother does now. Yeah, she's regurgitating. She had eaten enough meat for herself and the puppies, and now she is regurgitating this partially digested meat so that the puppies can be weaned. And look how the puppies absolutely pounce upon that meat. It was absolutely such a privilege to get to watch such rare behavior of these very, very elusive canids. It was absolutely, absolutely, absolutely a privilege. And then she left, and the puppies followed. A whole dozen of puppies. And look at them, so well fed. Their bellies are absolutely swollen like a balloon. All right. So those were some very exciting sightings that I could narrow down on for this webinar. There are many more sightings that I could not list. I'm going to probably do more webinars on them later. But let me warn some of our viewers who have never been on safari in India, and that is that tiger tracking, tiger watching, and tigers are highly, highly addictive. So addictive that some of our guests who initially, before they visited and before they got on the plane from home, thought that this is probably the only time they're coming to India. And they come here, they fall in love with the country, they absolutely fall in love with tigers, and then they get addicted to tigers and they keep coming back again and again to follow the lives of the tigers that have touched them. And for those of you who are Kanha files now, and for those of you who have visited multiple times and are planning to visit again to check on the tigers you have seen here in the past, I have news. This tigress, MB3, is one of our star tigresses at Kanha, and you've seen her on many of my webinars over the years, on cover slides and all. And she was, in fact, the first tiger I saw on this season in December. And when I last saw her in April, this sighting, look, she's pregnant. Or at least she was in April. News is that she's already delivered cubs earlier this month. And I just can't wait to go back to Kanha and see MB3 with her cubs. And starting next season, those cubs are going to be just the right age to be active and going around with their mother. And I can absolutely promise phenomenal sightings of MB3 and her cubs in the upcoming season. Not just the upcoming season, the upcoming 2 seasons, because the cubs will stay with the mother for 2 to 2.5 years. And yeah, there is news. Some of you might have known of this, but look up the NatHab website. We are changing the destination of our India Tiger Quest and India Tiger Photo Expedition trips. We are adding a fantastic new park in central India. In fact, it's not a new park, it's quite an old park. It's new for us at NatHab, and it's probably a lesser known outside, but this tiger reserve, the Doba, is a absolutely fabulous tiger land with some spectacular tiger sightings that are enabled by its dry and sparsely vegetated habitat. It is known for extremely high tiger action, and it was the park in which I had seen my first tiger back when I was 20. So it is a special park for me, and I'm super excited to be going to Tadoba starting next season on our India Tiger Quest and India Tiger Photo Expeditions. And definitely soon we will be doing webinars introducing this park to you on Daily Dose of Nature. And we are excitedly looking forward to adding this new tiger reserve on the India Tiger Trail of NatHab Expeditions. And with that, I would like to end today's webinar. And Rob, over to you for questions and answers.
All right. Thank you, Aditya. Now, before we dive into the question and answer session, I would like to remind everyone that if you do have questions, you can submit them via the question field in your control panel. Just go ahead to the upper right-hand corner. You see those three lines. We call that the hamburger. Click on the hamburger, and it'll open up. You'll see the question field. Go ahead and click on that and submit your questions in there. So let's dive into some questions.
Sure.
So how many cubs does an average tiger have in one litter, and how many cubs could you end up seeing with one mother at one time?
Well, on average, there are 2 to 4 cubs. In areas that have very high prey density, where hunting is not a problem, tigresses tend to have larger litters. We have seen tigresses with 4 cubs. We have even seen tigresses with 5 cubs. Occasionally tigresses will have more than 4 cubs. And there is a tigress called DJ in Kanha National Park where MB3 lives. And DJ was seen with 5 cubs initially, and but 2 to 4 is more typical.
Great, thank you so much. So can you talk about the switching of parks? Do we know why that happened? And are we not going to Ranthambore anymore?
No, unfortunately, we are not going to Ranthambore, and it's got nothing to do with the park. It's a beautiful park, but there are logistical challenges that we had begun facing at Ranthambore. There are also concerns with over tourism there and over commercialization. We had always been looking for an alternative for quite a while, actually. And Tadoba just fits in perfectly because Tadoba gives you just as much tiger action as Ranthambore, if not more sometimes. In addition, it is a park where the chances of crowding are much lesser, and also being in the Central India tiger landscape, Tadoba also has a greater diversity of larger mammals and adds to the mix not only fantastic tigers but also wild dogs and gore, which you don't see at Ranthambore. So it's a win-win for us. It's a new destination. It's as much tiger action and leopard action, I must add, if not more. There is even a melanistic leopard, a black leopard in Tadoba that is seen fairly frequently. And there's also much more diversity of other wildlife.
Well, that sounds amazing. Great, a great change, it sounds like to me. Um, were you able to see access deer? And is that something that we can see on the trip?
Oh yeah, spotted deer are, they're almost all over the country, barring Kaziranga. You see them in almost all the parks. Yeah, they're the primary prey species across the country.
So what time of year do we run our trips out there to India?
So our trips to India run from typically December, sometimes November, but typically December through June almost. And of these, the Grand India Wildlife Adventure, which takes us to three different parks over a almost 2 week, 12 days, 13-day itinerary. The Grand India Wildlife Adventure runs from December through April, sometimes spilling over into the first week of May, as it did this year. The other one, India Tiger Quest, and India Tiger Quest actually runs from April through June, and India Tiger Photo Expedition runs from March through June. And both India Tiger Quest and India Tiger Photo Expedition shall be going to Tadoba.
Great, thank you. So, what is the difference between the regular trip and the photo trip?
So the photo expedition is longer than the regular trip. It focuses on staying out longer and cashing in on photo opportunities. It is a trip that is uh, tailored for aspiring photographers and serious photographers. You know, anybody who takes their photography seriously and is willing to stay out longer to get the right light, to capture the right moment. And the whole approach of the photo expedition is geared more towards photography, both as an activity and also in terms of learning. Photo expeditions are led by photo expedition leaders such as myself, who will also give you a lot of hand holding, a lot of teaching, and also they will share their expertise and their experience in the destination to try and get you the best possible photo opportunities that could be squeezed into the limit of your trip's itinerary. While the normal expeditions are more holistic and more geared towards an overall wildlife experience.
Great, thank you for letting us know that. So, when I am on the trip, how many people are on the trips with me in general, would you say?
So for India Tiger Quest and India Tiger Photo Expedition, it's 6 people max. There could be lesser than six, but there'll never be more than 6 people. And on the Grand India Wildlife Adventure, which is a longer trip and goes to more parks, on that our maximum cap is 11. Regardless of which trip you're on, the entire group will fit around the same dining table.
How physically challenging are the trips? Am I going to have to be in great shape, or if I, have some illness or difficulties walking, am I going to be okay?
You'll be okay. These trips are physically not challenging at all, in the sense that there's hardly any physical activity in that sense, because you camp. You're based in a very comfortable safari lodges. The most you walk usually is from the lodge to the jeep and back, and whatever walking you might need to do at airports. But even at airports, if you are uncomfortable walking long distances in large airport terminals, we can always arrange a wheelchair for you. These trips physically are fairly sedentary, and you can always opt out of things like walking safaris, and you can still get a lot out of these trips without having to physically tax yourself. So I would rate these trips as easy in terms of physical requirements.
So let me ask you this, Aditya. Is there one thing that stands out from this past season's safaris that you would like to share with us, something unique or exciting that maybe you never experienced before?
Well, um, I mean, there are several things, but I think that leopard sighting, that leopardess, actually setting up an ambush and executing it, that was art. That was absolute art. And the fact that we could literally see her thinking and literally see her doing it. We predicted every move, and it sort of occurred almost as if it was choreographed, and that was just absolute magic for me. It's something I had never seen before, and the fact that from the first moment itself till the very last, we could predict every second of it, and it just played out like a movie in front of us. That was absolutely spectacular.
Sounds amazing. Well, just an amazing experience to get to have, and I hope to someday come out and join you and get to see that. Well, unfortunately, Aditya, it's going to be all the time that we do have for questions today. So I'm going to toss it back to you for your closing comments.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you to our wonderful audience. I hope you enjoyed my safari stories from the season, and I'll keep coming back with more. So take care and see you soon again on Daily Dose of Nature. Bye bye.
Thank you for taking the time to present for us today, Aditya. And I'd also like to thank everyone who tuned in today. So if you are interested in information on how you can travel to India with NatHab, please give us a call at 800-543-8917, or you can send us an email at info@nathab.com. Our adventure specialists are happy to help you out. Join us Monday for our next Daily Dose of Nature. You can check out next week's lineup, including registration links, on our website at nathab.com/webinars. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude today's webinar. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time.